To start off the NFL season, throughout the first 8 or so weeks, the Offensive Rookie of the Year award looks like it was Jayden Daniels, and everyone else was very far behind him, especially for the quarterbacks of that class. Even through the first couple of weeks, other guys have gotten time to start now, like Drake May. But to start off, it was just Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and Bo Nix that were the Week 1 starters. And Caleb has had an up and down stretch. He's really just kind of dealt with some internal issues with that Bears roster, specifically from the head coaching position. Up top, that's really not just the best situation for his development. The roster itself is quite talented, but in terms of all the other stuff around him, it's not a great situation. So he's kind of had an up and down year. But for Bo Nix and Jayden Daniels, they were polar opposites to start the year. Bo Nix looked like the worst quarterback in the NFL for those first couple of weeks. It was pick after pick and a lack of touchdowns to make up for that matter. The completion percentage wasn't quite there either, and it looked like Bo Nix was the sixth quarterback taken in that draft, which he was. But this was also a guy who was a veteran at Oregon. He spent a lot of time in college, and in that, you might not project him to have the highest ceiling in terms of how much can we get and develop this player on the NFL level, but you do expect him to kind of come in and make an instant impact. And Bo Nix did not do that to start off the year. But Jayden Daniels, on the other hand, he looked like a really exciting player. He led Washington to some big early victories. And throughout the first couple weeks, no rookie quarterback had a passing touchdown. But Jayden Daniels was able to get some work done through the ground game as well, and be a very, very effective rusher for this Commanders team. And that's really been the best part about Jayden Daniels' game, has been not just the fact that he is a very good passer, very safe with the ball, but you've got that safe, and then you've also got him knowing when to run when a guy's not open. And he was able to mix both of those, and that's something that so many high-level scrambling quarterbacks don't even get to do it in their peak. You look at a guy like Jalen Hurts, as talented as he can be, and as good as he can be at times, there are also moments where he can't balance that run game and pass game, and he can miss his reads sometimes. And he has picked things up as of late, but there was a time towards that collapse that the Philadelphia Eagles had at the end of last season, and to start off this year, where Hurts was throwing a lot of turnovers. So that's just an example of a rushing quarterback that was not able to, balance both the passing and rushing aspect. But Jay Daniels, on the other hand, was really safe with the ball, and to see that from a rookie, to have him be so polished and safe in that pocket, that's huge. And then you add on top of that what he was able to bring to the game in terms of rushing. He looked like a clear front runner for a Rookie of the Year. But now, over these last couple weeks, Bo Nix has looked really, really good. And his main focal point is his pocket passing, but he's also a really solid runner in his own right. And Bo Nix, once again, this is a guy who spent a lot of time in college. You expect him to be good right away, and he wasn't to start off the year. And as a result, the Rookie of the Year award looks like it was really Jayden Daniels to have. But now, Bo Nix is really putting himself in those conversations. So then the question really becomes, after this midseason turnaround from Bo Nix, of who deserves the Rookie of the Year award? Bo Nix or Jayden Daniels? Because those are the two guys that are far and away the front runners for the award. And it's really not black and white. A cop-out a lot of times when you've got two guys that are really going for it, especially at the quarterback position, because typically it's going to favor the quarterback. Most NFL awards do. Stuff like the MVP, Rookie of the Year. So if it's, maybe a running back and a quarterback, maybe you would think, oh, it's just going to go to the quarterback. But these are two quarterbacks, so then the situation usually becomes, if it's two quarterbacks competing for it, it's going to go to the guy who's experiencing more team success. But both Denver and Washington have been very good teams this year, led by these rookie quarterbacks. So you can't go to that too. So it really does create a tough decision in terms of who is the Rookie of the Year, because they are very similar in terms of what they're doing for their team. They're obviously the same position. And production-wise, they're pretty similar too. Bo Nix was a guy who was throwing a lot of picks early, but he has really turned that around That's been the biggest part in unlocking his game is limiting those interceptions, and he has done that. So he's been safe with the ball as well. And Jayden Daniels has kind of declined on that end. He's still a very good quarterback, but he's almost kind of hit the rookie wall in terms of getting any better at this point. I don't know that Jayden Daniels is going to get any better his rookie season development wise, just because he was already so good from week one. And for Bo Nix, it kind of took a little while. And as a result, he has not hit the rookie wall yet, and he's continuing to get better week in, week out. And I think that kind of, in the eyes of the voters at least, is going to give him the edge. Just because of recency bias, that runs wild throughout so many circles, and especially in voting ones. I mean, you look at any league, and there are so many cases, especially with something like the MVP award, of voter fatigue, where a very deserving player who we've seen win that award in the past, because they've won it a couple times in the past, they're not going to give it to them again, even if they're doing great stuff and perhaps are the best player in the league, just because we've seen it so much. And it might go to someone perhaps less deserving when we look back on it with history. So recency bias is a huge thing of awards. And with that, I think you could very well go to Bo Nix because of the way he's played as of late and the way Jayden Daniels has kind of not looked the same as of late. He had one really good game in the past couple weeks. And other than that, he hasn't been a bad quarterback, but he isn't the same guy hitting the same highs that we saw earlier on in the year. And as a result, I think it could very well go to Bo Nix. Who deserves it more? That's really a toss-up because, once again, there's the team success. Both these guys are quarterbacks going into the NFL, so that is a whole new system to learn and a whole new level of competition you're playing against. So any quarterback playing as a rookie and performing well, they're very much deserving of all the praise that they get. So in terms of who really deserves it more, I think they're both impacting the game at a high level. I could almost argue Bo Nix just because of his division. Because he's playing two really good pass defenses in both the Chiefs and Chargers. Harbaugh has really turned that LA team around. And for the Chiefs, you've got Trent McDuffie, you've got Chris Jones. That's a great pass defense. And for Jayden Daniels, obviously he does have to play against the Eagles. They've got a great secondary and perhaps one of the best D tackles in the entire league in Jalen Carter. But other than that, Dallas hasn't looked too good on the defensive end this year, and the Giants, they don't have a lot going for them. So because of the strength of the division, in terms of the defense that they're playing, I would almost argue that Bo Nix is more deserving. But both of them have been super impactful, and that does not take anything away from either of these guys. They've both had great rookie seasons, and I think that is something to really appreciate, especially at that quarterback position. Because we get spoiled in recent years by maybe a Baker Mayfield, by a Justin Herbert, by a CJ Stroud, these rookies that come in and have great rookie seasons. So often that is not the standard. It often takes quite a while to develop. And most guys are not a capable NFL quarterback from week one. Even Bo Nix, we saw first couple weeks he didn't look like one. You think of Jordan Love, back when the Packers drafted him, they set him behind Aaron Rodgers for a long, long time because they kind of knew that. And they knew that sitting him behind a veteran, one of the best quarterbacks ever, would absolutely help his game. And then Jordan Love really burst onto the scene his first year starting, but not his rookie year last year. Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith for a year. Obviously, Alex Smith is no Aaron Rodgers, but then in Mahomes' first year actually starting, he throws for 50 touchdowns. So there is something to it. Often teams, it can be a smart maneuver to let your guys sit for a year because so often rookies can't be productive their rookie year. And sometimes that can even kind of signal a decline, set a bad precedent throwing them to the Wolves week one if they aren't able to mentally prepare themselves for having a bad game, because that's going to happen playing against NFL defenses. And sometimes guys can lose their confidence and never become the same player. You look at Trevor Lawrence, there's still some untapped potential there. His development was hurt by playing under an incompetent head coach his first year. And that rookie year, his production wasn't very good. He gets a pass because of the coach that he had. But, one could argue that kind of has altered his confidence a little bit because this was a guy that was so used to winning, experienced so much success. He gets to the NFL and it's not the same. And he doesn't produce as well his rookie year. And that can kind of hurt your confidence of, truly believing in yourself to be an NFL quarterback. But for Bo Nix and Jayden Daniels, So often we might see one quarterback come in that is NFL ready from week one. But we've had two, arguably three of those guys. Caleb Williams, once again, not in the best situation, but he's got all the talent, all the potential in the world. Jake May has looked pretty good, but he didn't start week one. But these guys have played the whole year, and they've had their ups and downs for sure. But to be competent NFL quarterbacks as rookies, that's huge and something you don't see from a lot of guys. So we can have plenty of discussions about Rookie of the Year, but the fact that they are both very well deserving and in conversations for it, that's huge. And I talked about, the NFL quarterback integration from college to the NFL. I think that's why you can argue that a skill position player might have the advantage in terms of production right away, because the quarterback has to ultimately be the one to lead the team, learn the whole playbook. Obviously, a skill position player has to do quite a bit of that too, but the quarterback is kind of seen as the go-to guy, perhaps seen as the face of the franchise for a lot of teams, whether it's fair or not. So, skill position players producing from day one, that's great, of course, but to see two quarterbacks do it, that's more than great. That is exceptional. So regardless of who is Rookie of the Year, and I would argue that both of them deserve it, but because of recency bias, it might go to Bo, and just the caliber defense he's playing from LA to Kansas City. But both of them are very deserving, and that is huge that they could both make a legitimate argument as rookies coming in from day one and instantly producing. It's great to see, and we should just appreciate both Bo Nix and Jayden Daniels.